Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ilona, and in this video today we are gonna eat a lot of Dutch food that I'm gonna cook, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself, where I come from, and about Holland, the Netherlands, if you like. They are the same country. Deutschland is not, but we do speak Dutch. So the Dutch normally start their day off with usually just a cheese and ham sandwich. So here I have a slice of bread that I made myself. I'll link the video down below where I made this bread. I did it on my second channel, or on my main channel I should say. Put on there some tomatoes, some cucumber, cheese and ham, and that's it guys. Nothing more, nothing less. Oh, there's some butter on there too. Some butter on there. I have a big cup of tea here. The Dutch do drink a lot of coffee, but I don't know. I go through phases of drinking coffee. I haven't had a coffee for a while. Not at home anyway. If I go out in the weekends with my husband, sometimes I'll have a coffee, but tea, ginger and lemon tea it is for me right now. It feels more appropriate for the weather. It's cold, it's rainy, and that's perfect for today. The food we're gonna make today and gonna eat today it's real comfort food. It's winter, soul warming. It's the sort of food you crave when the weather turns, it's raining outside, and you just want to sit at home and just eat food that makes you feel wholesome. It makes you feel good. It warms your soul, and that's what we're gonna eat today. Except for the cheese sandwich, it's a bit boring. Unfortunately, it's a very typical thing to have in Holland for breakfast. Eat some bread, usually with some cheese and some ham. It's a fairly well balanced breakfast. There's some carbs, there's some fats, there's some proteins. It's all right. It's all right. Now I am eating this with a knife and fork because it's gonna be too much to try and chew otherwise. I cut this a bit thick. Look at that. It's the problem when you make your own bread. You have to cut it yourself, and it doesn't come in very bite-sized friendly slices. And this is still not bite-sized. Hold on. Oh my word. What am I doing here? It's getting a bit old. The bread is starting to get a bit old because this is what happens when you make your own bread. It goes old after a couple of days, which is not bad because that means I just have to make more bread probably tomorrow. The Netherlands, capital, Amsterdam. I'm sure you've all heard of it. It is a very, very tiny country. In fact, it's probably one of the smallest countries in the world. I think the only countries that are smaller is Monaco, Andorra, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, and I think that may be it. Nonetheless, the Dutch are incredibly influential. They are, the royalty of the Netherlands is very powerful, very rich. And the Dutch have had a very big influence on Western history. For the good or the bad, I'm not gonna comment on that. It's history, it's what happened. Shit things happen in history. That's just how it is, unfortunately. But yes, the Dutch were big colonizers. The Dutch owned large parts of the world. In fact, the Dutch New York used to actually be called New Amsterdam until we sold it for like some socks and some other things. It was the worst business deal in history. Hi guys, future Ilona, editing Ilona. And what I just said, it's not true, it's not true. I think I'm confusing things because I learned this stuff a long time ago. I'm getting old, my memory starts to fade. But apparently, actually what happened is that the Dutch bought the land of the Manhattan Indians for $24 worth of stock. And I believe that stock is what they carried on their ships, which was like socks and clothing and just items that they have on land. However, I will talk about it later, about the Anglo-Saxon Wars. And there was also apparently conflict in Manhattan or in New York. And in 1664, New Amsterdam was passed to the English control, and the English and the Dutch settlers lived peacefully. We didn't sell it to the English for little, we lost it in war. But we did sell our land to the Native Americans for whatever crap we had laying on the ship. History, guys, you can't make it up. We can only learn from it. And the Dutch also managed to sail past Australia, but did find Tasmania and New Zealand, which leads me on to Zeeland. New Zealand is called after Zeeland. Zeeland is a county, a province of the Netherlands. Where I am from, actually, I am from Zeeland. And I was gonna try and potentially look into do a traditional get-up, but it's really expensive. So what they have in Zeeland is, we're famous for our mussels. We are famous for our beaches, for our bolussen, very nice. For our traditional, for the boerinnetjes, for the boeren en boerinnetjes with their traditional get-ups. We obviously have windmills too. Sure, there's cheese. I never really thought about that. And especially the area that I'm from, it has seen a lot of battle. It actually used to be underwater. In fact, it is below sea level. Another thing that the Dutch are famous for is for creating polders, which is basically when you take bits of land that are underwater, you create like Baken, I don't actually know what you call them in English, and you basically remove the water and turn it into either agricultural land, or you turn it into living land. So that part of Holland that I'm from is actually, it originally has been underwater. And this is why it's quite prone to flooding. But the Dutch, we use our dunes, and also we use sluizen sluices, I think you call them in English, to manage the water coming in and out and control the water levels. Jesus Christ, it's dry. I was potentially gonna eat and talk, but honestly, this is too dry, I can't do it. Let me make a dent in this because I am hungry, and then I'll be back with some more factoids. This video is probably gonna be all over because I'm gonna be talking about Holland. I'm gonna share with you where I'm from, what I've grown up with. I'm gonna show you like Dutch delicacies, the food. And yeah, this is gonna be a fun food and educational video, history video. So that's all it is, guys. It's history. I'm not an expert on Dutch, I just am Dutch. I haven't lived there for 15 years. I am still a proud Dutch person. I will always be Dutch. I will never change my nationality. The Dutch passport is one of the best passports to hold. There's no way I would ever become a different nationality. I forgot how refreshing and nice it was actually just to have some cucumber and tomato on a sandwich, or an open sandwich. Is it even a sandwich? A slice of bread. It's good. To educate you guys some more, where I'm from, the town of Vlissingen, it's a small port town. It used to be big back in the day. It used to be the second biggest port in Holland, after Rotterdam. And Rotterdam used to be the biggest port in the world. I don't know if it still is actually, but it was for a very, very long time. One of the things that makes my hometown famous is that it's the birthplace of a guy called Michiel de Ruyter. And Michiel de Ruyter is arguably one of the best sea captains, sea admirals to have ever existed, frankly. Maybe there is a bias there on my part, but many people do argue that he is one of the best captains or admirals to have ever existed, because he was incredibly tactical for his time. In fact, he is the only person to ever shamed the British Navy. And it was in all its glory, in all its power, at all its might, back in the 1600s. The Dutch embarrassed the British Navy by what? By sailing up the Thames. Nobody had ever done this before. Michiel de Ruyter did. This is like the Dutch and the English used to have a war, the war of like the sea, the North Sea War, because that's called the North Sea between Holland and England is called the North Sea. So they were at war, and I'm fairly sure, don't quote me on this, but this happened in 1667. I'm pretty sure that 1667 is when they created the Marines, the Royal Marines. Basically, the Royal Marines were founded in 1664, and the raid on the Medway happened in 1667, but the second Anglo-Saxon War. So it does seem like the Marines were founded in preparation for the ongoing wars between the Dutch. I don't know if this is 100% true or not. If it is, I will insert it into an article that confirms my beliefs, my vague memories. I don't want to sit here right now and spend half an hour researching the internet to find it. Michiel de Ruyter was just a very well-respected admiral who was extremely skilled in combat. In fact, one of the things that he's also famous for is that when pirates would attempt to rob his ships, he would butter the decks of his own ship. And the men would have like special shoes with like spikes in them. And what happened is that the pirates would get on deck. Obviously the decks had been buttered, which made for very slippery surfaces. They would just fall over, and then it's just a case of book, dead you are. So that's something that is obviously interesting. I think, you know, he did some absolutely astounding feats. And what I'll do is I will link below an article by badassoftheweek.com, which is just some guy that writes up these really funny summaries of all kinds of badasses. Like, it doesn't really matter where from, and he did a summary of Michiel de Ruyter. So I highly suggest you go and read that and just check out the page because it is interesting. I forgot that he even existed until literally just now. So we're gonna now make a roux sauce for our bitterballen, because basically this sauce needs to cool down. So then once it's cooled down and all the fat and all of that has coagulated, I can shape it into balls and I can bread them and deep fry them easily without creating too much of a mess. Now the key to a roux sauce is easy to make, but you need to be on the ball with it. It's a sauce that you need to keep stirring, and the key is to slowly add your liquid. I'm gonna go with stock from the stew that I put aside this morning. This is melting. So I'm going to drain some of the juice out because I'm going to need that for my roux sauce later. I'm going to stick it back in because I just really want this to thicken up a bit more. So I'll cook it without the lid on for a bit, maybe 2 hours. Cook it for 2 hours without the lid on, a little bit higher temperature, and that should be fine then. I'm going to gradually add that to it until it is the consistency that I want it. And all you're doing is you start off by melting butter. I have no idea on measurements. I eyeball this. Melt your butter first, don't on a medium-high heat. You don't want your butter to brown or to burn. Once all the butter has started to go, you add in your flour and mix it all together until it becomes like a paste. You stir that around for a bit until it's like a solid lump, and then you gradually add in little bits of water or stock or milk or whatever you're doing. Add in, stir it, and then it will become liquidy, and then it will solidify again. Add more, and you just repeat that process over and over and over until your sauce is the thickness that you want it to have. Now the amount of butter I'm going to use is probably quite a lot, like a finger, like on a bit like this, like a finger of butter. So you're looking at like what, maybe 50 grams, something like that. And I'll start off with half a cup. I think half a cup of flour per finger of butter, and we'll go from there. Full transparency, I just completely fucked that first one up. I need to not try and give you measurements because I eyeball things, and me trying to measure things out, it just messed it up. So I'm gonna go back in, use more butter, and half a cup of flour is far too much. I'm just gonna gradually add flour until it becomes a consistency that I want, and I can't explain that because I'll be cooking, but you'll see. Alright, so this paste is now gonna cool down, and once it cools down, it will solidify. I need to stick it, I can't stick it in the fridge yet, it's a bit too hot for that, but once it's cooled down enough, I'll stick it in the fridge for a few hours just to make it extra cool, so I can like easily shape the product into balls. And I'll probably get like 8 or 10 from here. Not a lot, but it's okay for like, for a video, for a little snack. Ideally some fresh parsley through here would be really nice. However, I haven't got any, so that is what it is. I'm just putting the rest of the stock that I didn't use, I'm putting that back into the eggshell stew. Let's try some out, shall we? Smells beautiful. Smells really, really nice. It's just such a strong beef taste, but the paste, the roux sauce is just so nice and silky. I can't explain this flavor, I can't compare it to anything else because there isn't anything else out there, but my oh my is that beautiful. Just a very deep, strong beef flavor. Then there is like a hint of like pepper, and it's just super silky, my oh my. I wish you could taste that. I honestly wish you could taste that. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm not afraid to toot my own horn. That is fucking amazing, and Ivo is a lucky man. Now we're gonna start prepping for our snet or ErwtenSoep. And ErwtenSoep is basically a split pea soup. It's a one pot dish that is just synonymous with winter, cold, rainy weather. It's true comfort food, and it's very simple to make. All you need yourself some split peas, celery, onion, carrots. If you want, you can stick leeks in there as well, and you can also stick in there potatoes if you want, but I will not. I'm just going to go with the more traditional. And obviously I'm not vegetarian, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to season my meat with pork belly. You want the meat to be quite fatty so it flavors the soup, and then we'll add on like a smoked sausage afterwards. So ErwtenSoep was first recorded in the 16th century. It was a common dish that people would do whilst working on the land. People were busy, so what they would do is just get a pot out, stick it all in there, let it slow cook for several hours whilst they're busy doing other things, and then come back, sit down and enjoy a nice hearty filling meal. So we're gonna go make that now. We're gonna chop up all the vegetables into small chunks, and then we'll get prepping with the soup. So whilst I was busy chopping up my vegetables, my battery died. So here we have some chopped onion, some pork belly, which I'm gonna brown the belly, add the onion. And here we have some vegetables, this is celery and carrot. That will go in afterwards. I'm just gonna brown this off, put it to boil with the split peas, which are just soaking over here. So I can rinse them off. I'll add the vegetables to it later. I fucked up, guys, look. I got busy talking to somebody on the phone and clearly I didn't put enough water in there. So, lesson learned, it needs more water. So I'm gonna just try and salvage this now. I was able to kind of clean it, so let's try again, wish me luck. It's been a while since I've burnt something. Let's keep an eye on it this time around, shall we?
2 hours later.
I think I potentially fucked it up, guys. I think maybe there's too much water in there, so it's kind of too watery. I don't know, we'll find out. I'm still gonna add the vegetables. Maybe if these like overcook a bit and go softer, they'll thicken up a little bit more. So in we go. And wish me luck that it's not, that it's salvageable and that it will all turn together. I did it last time when I made the soup. I was worried it was too watery too, and then it turned out just fine in the end. She ain't very thick, guys. She's not very thick at all. She's quite runny, quite thin. I'm gonna let it simmer for another half an hour, and then hopefully with the lid off I can let it thicken up a little bit more, and if it doesn't, I'm just gonna have a watery soup and it's a bit of a failure. That's all completely my fault, but it may be fine. It can potentially be salvaged if I let it simmer for another half an hour without the lid on, let it vaporize. Fingers crossed it will work out. If not, I'm sure it will taste nice, it just won't be the right soup. Alright guys, here we go. ErwtenSoep. It turned out alright in the end. I had to have faith. Let it slow cook, let it vaporize. It's turned out alright. So now let's try some out. The key is you have to have this smoked sausage on top. A must for this dish. Well, unless you're vegetarian or vegan, obviously. Will I burn my face? Most likely. Just tastes so wholesome. And I was going to say it's not salty enough, but luckily that sausage is very salty, so it's just fine. I can't explain what this tastes like. It just tastes very wholesome, very hearty, very earthy. Probably because of the celeriac. It tastes like vegetables, but nice. Nice taste of vegetables. Whilst this is cooling down, I'm going to talk to you about some facts about Holland. Maybe they're new to me as well. You can no longer call the Netherlands Holland. Holland used to be one province, but now it's South Holland and North Holland. South and North Holland. Back in the olden days, it used to be Holland, and Holland would have Rotterdam as well as Amsterdam in it, it used to be the most, as well as The Hague. So it was the most affluent province, so that's why people would refer to it as Holland as opposed to Nederland. The Netherlands has the highest population density in Europe. The Netherlands is the 6th happiest country in the world. I didn't know that. I would imagine so, because the Dutch, we exercise a lot. We like to go for bike rides. The Dutch enjoy life. They tend to be very happy people. Dutch are the healthiest in the world when it comes to diet. I believe that. I hands down believe it. If you look at people here on the street compared to Holland, you don't really get as much obesity at all there. And also, the people, like I say, people cycle everywhere. Like, it is a true thing that the Dutch cycle everywhere because it's a small country. The Dutch are the most physically active European country. Again, probably why we're happy. It's probably why we have a good diet. If you fit, it all goes hand in hand together. Very rarely do you see people with very bad diets have a very high energy output. Sometimes, of course, it can happen, but usually speaking, if you eat right, you exercise right. If you exercise right, you eat right. It kind of goes hand in hand, and it makes you feel good, makes you happy. But I have to go because apparently my husband has arrived, so this will have to be eaten when I come back. My husband has come home, but he doesn't want to eat. You want to try a bite? No. What? You're so mean. You know I hate it when you do that. This is a really interesting factoid. The Dutch invented the first stock market in the world. I think we invented the check as well. No, that was the Freemasons. No, the guys with the crosses. Can't remember what they're called. The Crusaders, that's it. There are more bicycles in the Netherlands than people. I definitely believe that. Most people in my family probably have 2 bikes. The Netherlands has the highest English proficiency in the world. I believe that too. And I think the reason the Dutch are very good, and the Swedish as well, as most Scandinavian countries, but the reason why I think they're good in English is we don't dub our TV. Anywhere you go in Europe, their TV, of American TV or English TV, they talk over it in their own language. Whereas we don't have that. It's just English language with subtitles. And from watching foreign movies with subtitles, you do pick up a lot of the language. Not to mention English is everywhere, obviously. But I watch a lot of like Japanese, like anime. Well, not at the moment. I used to. I go through phases of watching. Mostly if I do cardio, when I'm prepping, I watch a lot of anime. I have picked up an okay-ish understanding of some Japanese words. It's not very good. I can't hold a conversation at all or form sentences, but I know some words, basically. I'm going to finish this. Start prepping some of the other meals, I think. We may have been through a lot this afternoon. I burned you, I watered you down, but in the end, you lived up to my childhood memories. For the StampPot is basically mashed potato with a vegetable through it. I'm gonna put kale through there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bake potatoes. I'm gonna take out the meat, which I am then gonna mash with some fresh nutmeg, some cream, an egg through there as well, some mature cheddar, and then I'll pan fry the kale separately in butter and mix that all together afterwards. I just forgot to film. I forgot to press play, but in here I have my potatoes, some mature cheddar, salt, pepper, and I put through there some fresh nutmeg. So I'm about to prep my stew. Well, I'm gonna prep it all, stick it in a pot, and then I'll put it in the oven before I go to bed. I won't do that now, but basically I'm gonna chop up some onion, carrot, a little bit of carrot, a little bit of celery, a lot of onion. Onion is kind of like a key ingredient, but I want the celery and the carrot for flavor. And after I've done that, I'm gonna cube this into like, I don't know, chunks like that. And I'm gonna coat that slightly in some flour with salt and pepper. I'm gonna brown it in a lot of butter. Calories don't count in dishes like this. They obviously do, but I need to have a lot of brown butter to brown this meat. And if you want to make a stew, sorry I'm just boiling some water. If you want to make a stew, brown your meat and brown it enough. I see this all the time, I'll come down with me. Brown it enough to the point where it's almost burning. Get a real nice crust on there. And then when you stick in the oven and soak it at low heat, all that flavor is going to go into the stew. So I'm also going to use salt and pepper, that's it. A bouquet garni in the stew. And I'm just going to use 2 of these stock cubes. 1 stock cube might be enough actually, I'll see how it goes. That's not it, I'm going to use 1 of these stock cubes too. So that's it. So the only seasoning I'm going to use is salt, pepper, bouquet garni and 2 stock cubes. A jelly one and 1 of these. Just falls apart. No effort. So here we have the hache finished, which is basically an onion and beef stew. That's it. That's it. I'm not going to do the oliebollen anymore because it's going to be too much food, but I'll make them next week for when my mum is here, because it's too much from a pack and I kind of don't want to eat them basically.
Cheers.
That tawny is delicious. We're drinking tawny port. So good. A typical dessert would be vla, which is basically like a custard, but it doesn't come just in vanilla flavour, it comes in all kinds of flavours. But you don't have that in the UK, so obviously I can't make it. The only thing that's left to make now is the BitterBallen, which I'm looking forward to eat, but I'm not remotely hungry after this because this is pretty calorie dense. There's a lot of butter and cream and other nice things that went into making this meal, but totally worth it though, seeing I've barely eaten today. So traditionally you eat them with mustard. I prefer with mayonnaise though. My oh my, that's good. It's hot too. When you thought stew couldn't get better, cool it, bread it, deep fry it. I'm gonna slowly finish these whilst we watch TV. Thank you for joining me for a day of Dutch eating. Let me know, out of all the dishes that you've seen, which one would you like to try the most? Or which Dutch dishes have you had that you really enjoyed? Let me know. And also comment down below, what day of eating of which country shall I do next? Because I'm quite happy to try out different countries. I don't have to just stick to the countries that I know. I'm happy to try anything really, because I'm a pretty good cook, even if I say so myself. So anyway, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to comment and like. Subscribe as well if you haven't already. Ring the bell so you get notified every time I upload. And I'll be back in the next one. Bye.